Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast. The season's over. This one's finally over. I think we've been done with this season for a couple months now, but it's officially over. Giants finished 3-14, thank God. I really thought it'd be 4-13 when I was going to talk to you guys. And honestly, I came into today expecting the Giants to win. I just think that was partially me coping, and I actually put $50 on the Giants to win this game. So I did lose money, but I was like, you know what? If they're going to win today, I might as well get something for it. But I'm actually more happy they lost. It's not the most ideal position, right? If they had lost out and did not beat the Colts last week, they would be first overall, but they are sitting at number 3 overall as their official pick in April. So it's like, okay, you're picking 3rd overall. There's 2 obvious top quarterbacks in this class. It's not as good as last year's class, of course, but there's 2 guys that are supposed to go high in this class, of course, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. So I guess the worst case scenario is that those 2 guys go right before the Giants, which is definitely possible, and that's the risk you run of winning that game last week, and they almost won today, which I was very afraid about. And I'm trying to see if they had won today, hypothetically, which once again, thank God they did not. But some other teams won that had 4 wins, so the Giants only would have been down to pick number, I think, 7 or 6, so it wouldn't have been that bad. It wouldn't have been 9 or 10, but still, they're much better off having the 3rd pick and not the 6th or 7th pick, so I will take that for sure. The product on the field was not great. I mean, we'll go over the game. I took notes, but there wasn't a whole lot where it's really that meaningful for next year and the year after that. But still, a lot of guys who don't get a lot of chances to play, they got to play. Of course, Tanner McKee being one of them, and he played well for the most part. And the surprise of the day, maybe, I mean, I know that the Bills were favored by 2.5, 3 points, but the Patriots actually win a game. They win versus the Buffalo Bills. I think Josh Allen took 1 snap to prolong his consecutive start streak, which good for him. I think he's still 10 seasons away from catching Brett Favre, so good luck, Josh Allen. The Patriots win. They're up to 4 wins, but now they're picking 4th overall rather than 1st overall, and they were sitting in such a good spot to trade back and get a lot of assets. Unfortunately for them, they win this game. So Joe Milton, who would have thought? He looked great. I mean, he made that one play. I posted this on Twitter. I mean, he made this crazy play. He rolled out to his left. He threw this fastball right to Demario Douglas in the corner of the end zone. It was such a good throw. So who would have thought that Joe Milton had this in him? And by the way, I meant to take I don't know if this is a victory lap or me just saying screw you people, but whatever this is, for those of you who said teams don't tank, just stop. You were very wrong. Teams absolutely tank. The Patriots benched Drake May after the first series for Joe Milton. They benched their best offensive lineman, Michael Onwenu. Now, of course, they still won the game, so the football gods did not credit them with trying to tank. But that's the point. Teams do tank. Open your eyes. They tank, right? The Browns tanked. They rotated 2 or 3 quarterbacks who suck. They kept Jameis Winston on the bench. And the Patriots, they tried to tank. They couldn't do it. I mean, look, they did the best they could. Jacoby Brissett is competent. Drake May is probably going to be a future star. So let's start a guy who many thought is not even the quarterback. Let's start future wide receiver at quarterback, Joe Milton. And it actually worked out, and Milton played great, and they won. And you can't really control that. But what the Patriots did do was smart. They're like, you know what? Let's do what we can to try and lose this game. And unfortunately for them and their front office and whatnot, they won. They fired Gerard Mayo an hour and a half, 2 hours after the game. I don't know if that correlates with them winning today. I don't really think it's Mayo's fault. But then again, I don't think he was a good head coach anyway. So anyway, we'll talk about the Giants, their situation, what's going to happen with Daboll and Schoen tomorrow. There's a lot of conflicting reports, so I think I'll just give out what my gut's telling me right now, and we'll find out in about 24 to 48 hours what's going to happen with those guys. Of course, it seems like Schoen is safe, so I think that's something we can get out of the way. He seems safe. I don't love it. It does seem like John Mara wants to keep this continuity. Of course, when they hired Joe Schoen, they hired a lot of different people for the front office. They changed a lot of how they did things with analytics and just whatnot, because obviously the way Dave Gettleman ran things was way different than Joe Schoen. The results may not be too different, but the way they just go about things and how they're just way more modern than they used to be, that's way different. So I feel like the Giants and their front office and John Mara really adapted to what Joe Schoen's vision was the past couple of years, and maybe John Mara doesn't want to throw that away. As you can tell, there's a lot of reasons as to why they should move on from Joe Schoen. I think they should. I think he's been a pretty bad GM since he's been here. I know his rookie class of this past season's been pretty good, but aside from that, there's really nothing about Joe Schoen where I like what he's done. So, I mean, we'll probably have to accept the fact that he will be back. For Brian Daboll, it seems less likely, but we'll talk about that at some point, probably towards the end. So let's go through the game. Hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe, and let's get into it. Let's start with an overview of the game. Of course, there was a lot of mental errors on the final defensive drive, which thank God for that, because I think without the Boogie Basham and Kayvon incidents on the final drive, I really thought the Giants were going to win. I really just felt it in my blood. I was like, this freaking team. I was ready to just unleash all hell, whether it was on here or on Twitter. I had a lot of stuff saved in my drafts just about to go off on this team because they got lucky, right? They lost the game, but it was just by dumb luck. They really did what they could to try and win this game. There were some instances where I was thinking maybe they're tanking. They were kind of rotating their cornerbacks, which doesn't matter. They mostly all suck anyway. But then they were benching Malik Neighbors on some plays. Like I remember on, I think, the final drive, they benched Neighbors for the second and third down play. The third down play is when Locke threw the game losing interception. So I'm like, okay, like there's some semblance of tanking, but if you're going to freaking tank, just go all out. Tell Malik Neighbors, all right, rest up, we'll see you next year. But like, no, they kept him on the sideline, helmet in hand for one drive, and then the next drive he was back in, and he scored like that 45-yard touchdown, whatever it was. So, yeah, by the way, crazy season for Malik Neighbors. He finishes with the most receptions in a Giants season ever, which was actually set by Steve Smith back in 2009. It sometimes slips your mind because Steve Smith obviously did not have the longest stay with the Giants, but did make a very crucial catch in Super Bowl 42 on that, I think it was 3rd and 11 play down the right sideline. So, rookie season for Malik Neighbors, and keep in mind, by the way, he did this with Daniel Jones, he did this with Tommy DeVito, did this with Drew Lock, Tim Boyle for a game or so. So he finishes with 109 catches, a Giants record, 1,204 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns, and 28 catches, gaining 15 or more yards. Obviously, for the situation he was in, and by the way, he missed 2 games, so this is not like 17 games, Mickey Mouse shit. Like, no, he actually did this in 15 games, so to do that with this type of quarterback room is super impressive. I know they kind of force-fed him the ball at times, but still, regardless, this is a very impressive season. The Giants have a superstar on their hands. I like when people say that Neighbors is a future star. I'm like, no, he's not future. It's now. It's here, right? So he has been amazing, and it's great to see that their first-round pick has paid off. It really has not been that way for the Joe Schoen era. Obviously, Kayvon's been nothing more than a league-average defensive end, and Evan Neal's unplayable. Deonte Banks is looking like a bust. So to get Malik Neighbors, who, yeah, when he came out of LSU, it was pretty obvious to anybody that had any type of scouting ability or even could watch a guy and say, oh, that boy nice, because sometimes that's all it takes. I mean, Malik Neighbors was going to be good. So, I mean, it was hard to mess up that pick. But I think given the quarterback situation and the numbers he still put up despite that, is very impressive. So he breaks that record. The offense wasn't great. Obviously, it's like so annoying because you look at Drew Lock last week, who had honestly one of the best games a quarterback's ever played and just had 5 touchdowns, no turnovers, like almost a perfect passer rating. And then, of course, against the Eagles, like second and third string guys, some starters, but for the most part, backups, he goes 22 of 29 for 4.8 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and like the Giants don't really do much offensively. So it's like, how bad did the Colts have to be? You know, it's very annoying. Wan'Dale Robinson had maybe the most Wan'Dale Robinson meme stat line of his career, because this is what he does. He catches passes, just does not go far. Catches 10 passes for 43 yards. So 4.3 yards per reception for your wide receiver is pretty impressive stuff. So he caught 10 balls. He's a PPR cheat code, but then again, nobody plays fantasy in week 18, or at least I hope not. Nobody else really did much from a receiving standpoint. There was that one rollout play to Chris Manhertz for 16 yards, but the rest of it was really Neighbors on that 45-yard touchdown. Really, it was Neighbors, and then Wan'Dale had his 10 short catches, and that was pretty much it from the offensive standpoint. Rushing-wise, I mean, Tracy was okay, 14 carries for 59 yards. The Giants' defense, they had their moments in this game. I really thought once they turned up the pressure and they sent blitzes at McKee, that's when he really got out of rhythm because he was just dropping back and, doing like his 3-step drop and just hitting guys, and it was pretty easy for him. But once they sent pressure and Shane Bowen like was kind of sending more guys at him, like he definitely was a bit more rattled. But to start the game, he looked great. He was hitting Dallas Goedert, he was hitting Jahan Dotson, like just hitting these random guys. Ainias Smith, these dump offs to Will Shipley. This guy EJ Jenkins had his first career catch and it was a touchdown. And when Jenkins scored that touchdown, I thought this game was over. I think it was 20, what was the score? 20-6 or something. Like it felt like it was over. Of course it wasn't, and I really started like pissing my pants at the end. But the Eagles offense, they did just enough. I mean, they said on the broadcast that the Eagles have had over 100 rushing yards in every game this year. This game, they did not. They did not have much of a rushing attack. Will Shipley and Kenneth Gainwell combined for only 46 yards on 21 carries, so that was pretty awful. So just a really bad rushing game for them. Ainias Smith had that one jet sweep that picked up a first down late in the game, so that was big. All right, game notes. So the Giants, they ran it on 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4 on the first drive. They converted both of them. I was very upset with the Eagles defense on that first drive. There was a false start by Jake Kubis after Tyrone Tracy had the second first down. And I think Jake Kubis had a pretty bad false start. Was it last week? It might have been him on the 1-yard line. But of course, they scored the next play with the Wandale crazy route next play. But still, like Jake Kubis, a bad penalty from him. They tried the Bellinger dump off on 3rd and 10, made it a 4th and 7. They go for it on 4th and 7, which was really a surprise. But then there was almost a pick 6 by Keely Ringo. He actually played a nice game, Ringo. Had a really nice special teams play later in this game. Then the Eagles offense comes out, first career start for Tanner McKee. The broadcast said he picked up his family from the airport last night, so I guess that's the life of a 6th-round quarterback. But he was really, once again, not bad. Like once the pressure came, yeah, he kind of folded a bit, but I think for the most part, he did what he could and he was fine. He hit Dallas Goedert for 16 yards on the first play. It was Brian Burns in coverage. It was actually a really nice throw because Burns had it played nicely, but he threw it to like the inside shoulder and it was like a really well-placed ball. So I feel like if you threw it right at Goddard, it's probably like knocked away or intercepted, but the fact that he threw it back to his inside shoulder where it had to be was the reason that ball got completed. He hit Goddard again for 17 yards, this time on Dane Belton. Eagles got down to the 10-yard line on 3 plays. There was the Ainias Smith touchdown on a rollout to the left. The Eagles score on 4 plays, and you can tell like the second that play happened that he was going to be wide open for a touchdown. Like you just see Smith running across the screen. It's like, oh, all right, that's an easy pitch and catch. But they almost got him short of the goal line, but he made a nice, he was able to turn his body in a weird way and got the ball over the goal line. So that was a great catch by him. Neighbors dropped a screen pass. I mean, that happened too much. If there's one thing you can kind of look at Neighbors' rookie season and say that has to improve, it's the drops. He even had a drop on one of those just drop passes when the quarterback literally snaps it and just drops it off to the wide receiver. So he dropped one of those too, but that's the one bad part about his rookie season. There was a 3rd and 9, delayed handoff for Tracy for 2 yards. Milton Williams, who was one of the starters playing, got the stop. Tracy was hobbled after this play. I thought it was the ankle injury. Maybe it was, but he came back in anyway, so I guess it didn't really affect him too much. Goddard had 12 yards on a play action. Deontay Johnson made the tackle. Actually, Deontay Johnson was good. Johnson ended up tripping up Kenneth Gainwell for no gain on the next play. Jahan Dotson got 9.5 yards on a slant. The Eagles had the ball on their own 36. It was 4th and inches. The crowd gets excited. It looks like they're going for the tush push with the big quarterback, Tanner McKee. And then Drew Phillips crosses the neutral zone. The Giants get flagged. Of course, that's a foreshadow for what happens later in this game. Jahan Dotson later picks up 13 yards on Divaad Wilson. It's D-I-V-A-A-D. I had to look this guy up in the whole Giants roster website. I was like, who is this guy? But he had some rough moments. He let up a catch on the next play as well. Eagles run on 3rd and 5, only get 2 yards. They go for it on 4th and 3. They run an in and out zig route to Dallas Goedert. He picks up some nice yardage there. Once again, not a good play by Divaad Wilson. McKee missed Gainwell, the running back, on a go ball down the left sideline. Deontay Johnson was in coverage, but the ball was overthrown anyway, so if McKee took a little bit off that throw, it's probably 6 points for Philly. Then Dallas Goedert drops a wide open 3rd and 3. It was Dane Belton in coverage, so he kind of got bailed out there. But they settled for 3, and Jake Elliott misses a 39-yard field goal. The same Jake Elliott who back in his first game as a rookie made a 62-yard field goal to beat the Giants. But of course, when we want him to make the field goal from 39, he misses. But life as a Giants fan. Next drive for the Giants, Jordan Davis blew up a screen pass to Singletary for -5 yards. And there was a false start. There were a few false starts in this game. If you watch this game closely, comment below, because I feel like I can't be the only one who saw this. There had to be 3 or 4 different times where it looked like the left tackle or right tackle for either team. It wasn't just a Giants or Eagles thing. For either team, it looked like the tackle left early or just got out of his stance early, and they just didn't throw the flag for a false start. I'm like, what are they watching here? So that was pretty weird. But on that play, they lost 5 yards anyway. The Eagles did force a 3-and-out. Wandale caught a curl 3 yards short, but then they ran a fake punt where they direct snapped the ball to Dane Belton. He ran to the right for a first down. Giants go for a 4th and 1 on Philly's 45-yard line. And this was the play where Singletary got the ball in the backfield and an Eagles defender was right there. He could have made the tackle for a -3 type of play. But, of course, the guy missed the tackle and Singletary picked up the first down. So that drove me crazy at the time. Then they go for a 4th and 2. They were somewhat in field goal range, probably around the Giants' 40-yard line. They decide not to go for the long field goal with Gano. They go for it. They throw a deep ball to Neighbors. Not the best ball. The safety got over there in time. It was knocked away. So they go 2 for 3 on 4th down that drive, but don't get the last one. Next drive, a snap went over Tanner McKee's head. This is a big guy, by the way. He's 6'5", 6'6", so it happened a few times. The Eagles center, I don't know who it was today, but he kept snapping the ball really high. And as I said, McKee's a very tall guy, so that was tough to do. So they lose 14 yards. Boogie Basham gets that Mickey Mouse sack. He was the first guy to just touch him, so yeah, congrats on the sack there, buddy. Then on 3rd and 15, there was a big pickup to Jahan Dotson. I keep saying Josh Dotson. That's the old, I think he was a Redskin at the time. He picked up a 3rd and 15 corner route. Will Shipley picked up 13. This was the play where Deonte Banks was offsides, so they just declined the penalty and took the 13 yards. This was the play next where McKee looked like he was going to be sacked. Boogie Basham pretty much had him in the backfield, but he dumped it off last second to Will Shipley, who made a nice move and made a guy miss and picked up a first down. On 3rd and 9, they passed short of the sticks for about 5 yards. They had to settle for a field goal, and Jake Elliott made it 10-0, a 24-yard field goal. They said on the broadcast that Tanner McKee had 163 passing yards in the first half. That was the most for any Eagles quarterback this season, so some shade thrown at Jalen Hurts and I guess even Kenny Pickett for a game last week. The next Eagles drive right before halftime, it was kind of useless. It went for nothing, but Dotson caught an 11-yard out route versus Dory Jackson. Isaiah Simmons had that weird situation where he pushed, I think it was Shipley, out of bounds, and Isaiah Simmons' cleat ripped off his shoe, which I don't think I've seen before. The entire bottom of his cleat was just ripped off, and I don't know, he went to the sideline and changed his shoes, but that was weird. I just feel like I haven't seen it. We've seen it in basketball. I remember Zion Williamson during his rookie year, he popped out of his shoe and broke the entire shoe. But I feel like in football, I've never seen that. Dane Belton costed Drew Phillips an interception. That was kind of rough to see. It was incomplete nonetheless, but Philly had the punt with 13 seconds to go. But yeah, if Dane Belton wasn't there to hit that ball, Drew Phillips was right there behind him just waiting for that pick six. Or not pick six, it might have been, but just an interception. Right out of halftime, Isaiah Rodgers returned a kick for 51 yards, so the Eagles had a good field position, but the Eagles go for a 4th and 2. They try to get that corner route on the left side. It was knocked away, so the Giants get a turnover on downs. Tyrone Tracy had this crazy 16-yard run where he picked up 5 or 6 yards. He was facing backwards and basically just backed his way up for another 10 yards. It was a Marshawn Lynch-esque type of run. Neighbors had that drop in motion. I talked about that before. It was a jet sweep basically, but the quarterback drops it off as a pass, quote unquote. I think they were trying to get him the reception record right there, and that would have broke it. So that kind of would have been a way to cheat the system and get the record, so the football gods were not having it, so Neighbors had to drop it. But then later he caught a crosser to break the 2009 reception record with 108. The Giants had a field goal to make it 10-3 Philly, and this is when the Giants defense started to turn things up a bit. So Kayvon had a sack on 3rd and 5. The Giants started to get some momentum here. Then Keely Ringo had that great tackle on the punt. It was a really good punt by who the hell's their punter? Is it Mann or Braden Mann or something? Braden Mann, there it is. I know punters. So yeah, he punted a really nice punt, and Smith Marset was backpedaling, and Keely Ringo came out of nowhere and drove him into the ground. Then I wrote down that Neighbors was sitting on this next drive. He had his helmet in his hand. He had a winter hat on, something like this. So I wrote tanking ? But no, he came back in the game. So it was I don't know, just one of those half-ass tanking type of things. The Giants, without Neighbors, go 3 and out. They punt from their own 19. Philly takes over on their own 38. McKee hit Dotson for a first down. They got over midfield like right away. Johnny Wilson had a first down. I wrote down there were so many high snaps. I guess on that Johnny Wilson first down, they snapped the ball high once again. There was a slant to Dotson for 15 yards. The Eagles were down to the 14-yard line of the Giants. And then E.J. Jenkins, his first career catch was a touchdown to put Philly up 17-3. So once this happened, I thought the game was over. It looked like they were benching Neighbors because we saw him on the sideline. He looked like he was done. Philly's up by 14 points, like early fourth quarter, and I'm thinking, all right, nice, like I don't have to sweat this game out. But then the Giants, they put Malik Neighbors back in the game. He scores a touchdown for 45 yards to make it 17-10. Next drive to stop the Eagles, Kayvon forced an incompletion. Brian Burns got a sack, it looked like. So they had the punt. Smith Marset had a nice punt return to the Eagles' 38-yard line. The Giants had to settle for 3. It was a 53-yard field goal from Graham Gano. It actually hit the bottom of the crossbar, not the crossbar itself, but like the bar that's behind the crossbar. So like he was pretty close to missing it, but he did make it. The Eagles' ensuing drive was big. They had the ball with like 6 minutes to go, had to run out the clock. So they go for a tush push on 3rd and 1 with 5 minutes 50 seconds to go. They get it. They try an Anaya Smith wide receiver jet sweep on 3rd and 3. That works. I remember Deonte Banks could not get off his block on that play, but as a fan that wants to lose, I was fine with it. The Eagles have a 4th and 4 on the Giants' 45-yard line at the 2-minute warning. This was a really tough decision, but the Eagles were aggressive with their play calling all day, so they line up to go for it. I don't know if they would have, but then jumping off sides was Boogie Basham. A neutral zone infraction cost the Giants basically a potential 4th down stop. And if Boogie Basham hadn't done that, then like maybe Neighbors gets the ball back and maybe they go down and score and the Giants win, and we're talking about having the 7th or 8th pick, but thank God he did that. So Boogie Basham, big move there. 1 minute and 51 seconds to go, 3rd and 11 on the Giants' 38. The Eagles pick up 5 yards. It was not enough to get the first down, but a flag came out late. Kayvon Thibodeau, roughing the passer, hit the quarterback like near the head, basically. They threw the flag, 15 yards. Kenneth Gainwell had a couple runs, made it 4th and 7. Jake Elliott knocks down a 32-yard field goal. Eagles up by 7, but there was still time left for the Giants to come back. I was still nervous because with the Giants having nothing to lose, if the Giants were to go down and score a touchdown on this next drive, they for sure would have went for 2. And we're talking about a 50-50 coin flip of whether the Giants win this game or lose this game. So I was very concerned. The Giants start on their own 30-yard line. They're faced with a 3rd and 2. And as I said, on the 2nd down play, Neighbors was off the field. Then on the 3rd down play, he was off the field. And on this 3rd down play, Drew Lock looks deep to the left, tries to make a pass he probably should not have made. But it was a situation where there wasn't much time left. You had to get a big chunk play at some point. So Lock took a chance. Sidney Brown intercepted him, and the game was over. So thank God the Giants found a way to lose this game. It was weird because I figured if I was going to sweat this game out, it would have to be the entire game. Like I really did not expect the Eagles to go up 17-3 and then have to sweat this game out later, but that's exactly what happened. But either way, I'll take the loss. I'm very happy with the outcome, obviously. I wished I had a top 2 pick. I was hoping for that for a long time. Once we knew that Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward were like the top 2 guys in this class, I was always hoping for a top 2 pick. Of course, they land at 3. It's not the worst thing. There's still a chance that Cleveland passes on a quarterback. It's always possible. But it's also always possible that Cleveland looks at their roster and says, we need more. So they trade back with a quarterback-needy team like the Las Vegas Raiders, for instance, and then the Giants get jumped and the Giants are left with no quarterback in the first round. So that's always possible as well. It could be like, I think this was what year was this? 2017, whenever the hell Mitch Trubisky came out. I'm pretty sure there was a trade up from 3 to 2 that year. I think it was the 49ers and the Bears obviously were in this. And I think the Bears traded from 3 to 2 to get Mitch Trubisky. Yeah, here it is. So memory did serve correct. So in 2017, the Niners to drop 1 spot from 2 to 3, they got Solomon Thomas in this draft. They got the 3rd overall pick, a 3rd round pick in that same draft, a 4th round pick in that same draft, and a 3rd round pick the draft after in 2018. So basically they had to give up their 2nd overall pick, but they got the pick right after at number 3 overall, and then 3 day 2 picks. Or 1 was day 3, but still. Like, that's pretty good draft compensation for moving back 1 spot. And 2017, for, like, NFL terms, was a very long time ago, so, like, maybe they'll ask for more. But if the Giants want to for sure guarantee they get a quarterback, it might take a trade like this, which like I don't hate it. If you're giving up no more than like a 3rd round pick, then like, okay, I can get on board with it. I'm not sure if Joe Schoen, if he's like convinced that these quarterbacks are worth trading up for, but we do know that Tennessee's going to take a quarterback 1st overall. I would think that's going to happen. It seems very likely. So let's say hypothetically, the Giants are really big on Shedeur Sanders, but Tennessee holds the 1st overall pick and they take Shedeur Sanders. Let's say the Giants are not too big on Cam Ward. Well, the Giants would not trade up a whole bunch to get a quarterback in Cam Ward that they're not a big fan of. So you kind of run into that problem. So there's always a chance that the quarterbacks, Ward and Sanders, go 1 and 2 and the Giants are left at 3. But at that point, you get the best position player in the draft, whether it's the Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter, whether it's Travis Hunter. Like, there's options out there. So there's a chance the Giants get the best position player in this draft in their eyes. I mean, we'll see if they draft right. It's annoying because 2 weeks ago, like, the draft was in the Giants' hands, and now they have to worry about what the 2 teams in front of them do. So, like, that part is really annoying. They did finish with the same records, but the Giants unfortunately had a tough schedule, so their strength of schedule was definitely higher than the Titans and the Cleveland Browns. But as I've said a million times, they really could have guaranteed the 1st overall pick if they had tanked the right way and they just benched Neighbors at halftime during the Colts game and benched Tracy. They probably have the 1st overall pick right now, and it's annoying, but still, I mean, there's a chance they get a quarterback and we won't have to worry about that. I've already looked at some mock drafts, and the one I saw on CBS Sports, I know it was USA Today, so like, I don't know if you want to trust them or not, but they had Cam Ward going 1st, they had Hunter going 2nd, and they had Shedeur going 3. So it's like, all right, maybe that happens. I'm still more on Team Shedeur over Cam Ward, but I'll take either of those guys. Like, I think I'm fine taking a shot on either one of them. If you're a Benjamin Albright believer, of course I think he's a Broncos insider is what he goes by. He says that the Titans are rumored to love Cam Ward. Not all teams do, is what he said. So if you believe what he says, then yeah, the Titans will take Cam Ward 1st overall, and that leaves the Browns to either take Shedeur or pass on Shedeur or trade out of that pick to a team that likes Shedeur, or I should say loves Shedeur, which I've heard rumors the Giants love Shedeur. I don't know. I'll try to find out somewhere or another. Now, the guy who once went by Pretty Ricky, who was predicting all the NFL stuff that came true eventually, he put out a tweet before the game that he believes Joe Schoen's job is not safe and that Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll are getting fired. Adam Schefter came out this morning and said he believes that Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll are safe. And then there's Jay Glazer, who Jay Glazer is like just a person that's worshipped by Giants fans because Jay Glazer always seems to get his Giants predictions, quote unquote, correct. He said he expects Brian Daboll to end up being safe. So if you believe in Schefter and if you believe in Glazer, it seems like Brian Daboll is safe. And I actually do agree with them. That's my prediction as well. My gut has told me for like the past week or so now, I think Brian Daboll's safe. And if they're going to keep Joe Schoen, I'd rather get rid of both of them, obviously, if I was in charge. But if they're going to keep Joe Schoen, I would just keep Brian Daboll. I would just run it back. Because at that point, like getting a new head coach with a GM whose expiration date might be a year from now, it just does not make sense. So run it back with Daboll and Schoen. Let's let them get their quarterback, even though Daniel Jones was the guy they signed to be their quarterback. But let's let them get their second quarterback and see if they can, strike gold here. And as I've said before, if they're going to fire one guy, I do think that Joe Schoen deserves to be fired more than Brian Daboll. So I'm not like too mad about this. It's not as bad as when Gettleman came back for year 4. That really made me furious. This one, it's like, I can see the vision with Joe Schoen, but he's done some bad things here. He really has. You just have to hope that he learned his lessons. That's really what you have to hope, because if you look at Joe Schoen's resume, that's not a guy who deserves a year 4. So if you're John Mara making this decision, you have to really think in your mind that this guy has learned on the job and he's better at this than he was 2 or 3 years ago. But even what he did this past offseason, letting Saquon go, letting McKinney go, and having them have all-pro seasons. McKinney had a pick today, by the way. It was on Keenan Allen, but still, a pick's a pick. But to have that happen, it was like, that's pretty rough on a GM's resume, especially going 3-14. And this was the first season ever the Giants went winless against their division throughout an entire season. So I saw this list of reasons why Joe Schoen should not be kept. It was by @LoveMyTeams with a Z. He says, if Mara keeps Schoen after worst season in NYG history, paying Daniel Jones, not having an NFL quarterback on the 24 roster, hiring Daboll, who will be fired, might not be fired at this point, getting nothing from McKinney and Barkley, whiffing on 5 and 7 in the 2022 draft, passing on the 2024 quarterbacks. He's dumber than we thought. And yeah, John Mara, he's not my favorite. He's definitely not, but there's nothing we can do. The guy's the owner, and the Giants hopefully just have to back their way into some dumb luck and have this thing work. And it still very much irks me. I know the Giants lost today, but it still irks me that he did what he can to win this game. The fact that they played Neighbors and they just played Drew Lock and they played Burns and they played Tracy and they played Kayvon, it just did not sit right with me. It's just, I hate that this team wanted to go 4-13 so badly. And I know you'll have Patricia Traina and Carl Banks and Paul Schwartz talking about culture wins as if they do anything for this team. This team always has culture wins and they don't do anything with them. The thing that's really going to change this franchise is not culture wins. It's getting a good quarterback, which, as I've said plenty of times, this team has not had a top 10 quarterback since 2015. It's true. Also, drafting better. If they draft better and get a good quarterback, then yeah, they'll be back on track. But what they're doing right now and getting these culture wins at the end of seasons has nothing to do on what the Giants will do in 2025. So we'll see what they do tomorrow or Tuesday or whenever they make a Brian Daboll decision. But I really do expect Joe Schoen to be back, whether you like it or not. But this day did not go as bad as I thought it would. I woke up with a really bad feeling of this is not going to go well. I was happy for Tanner McKee to go out there and play well. First career start. And of course, beating the Giants, that was more important to me. But yeah, once again, this day, it was not that bad. Like the Patriots, I don't know if the Patriots winning was a good thing for the Giants, because if the Patriots stayed at 1, they easily, not easily, but they could have traded up with them and had their pick at whatever quarterback they wanted. But still, with the Pats winning, they do leapfrog another team and they go from 4 to 3 in the draft order, so I guess that's better. If they're able to stay at 3 and still get Shedeur Sanders, that's best case scenario for me, but I'm sure a lot of reports will drop over the next few months of what happens. There was that one report that the Browns are leaning more to a veteran quarterback, which I don't know why, but if they do that, then there will be no drafting a quarterback for Cleveland. And if the Giants have to make a trade from 3 to 2, and once again, let's say that this Albright report is true, that the Titans love Cam Ward and the Giants love Shedeur Sanders, which once again is something I've heard before, then it would not shock me if the Giants made a Bears and 49ers 2017 type trade where the Giants basically give up the 3rd pick and, a 3rd, a 4th, and another 3rd to get up one spot in the draft. It might be worth it if they feel like Shedeur is their guy. So it's interesting. We'll see how that stuff plays out. We'll see what happens with Daboll. I once again think both of them stay. That's what my gut says, and that's what I'll stick with. Once again, another season in the books. So for those of you who watch every reaction or just about every reaction, I appreciate it. Even every preview video, which I know those don't get as many views, but still, they're still fun to make. This is my, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 7th season of doing this, which is freaking crazy. Makes me feel old as hell, which I kind of am. But out of those 7 seasons, only 1 winning season. The rest have been double-digit losses, so maybe I'm part of the problem. I don't know. I don't think I am, but there's always a chance. I'm not sure what my Giants video schedule is going to be coming up during this offseason. I still have my quarterback video I want to do, talking about the Giants quarterback options. I did want to wait till after the season was over to release that, because we didn't know coming into today whether the Giants would be picking 1st overall or 10th overall. So now that we know where they are, I can make that video and post it and feel good about it. So that'll be out probably next week or so. And of course, aside from that, we'll be reacting to free agency and draft rumors and stuff like that. And I guess while I'm here, let's pick a Super Bowl. It's January 5th when I'm doing this, so let's see. It'd be nice to know the result of the Lions-Vikings game tonight, because I feel like I'd want to take the winner of that. I really wanted to pick the Packers, but ever since I made that video about the Packers making a deep playoff run, everything's gone wrong for them. So I kind of feel guilty about that. But they lost Jair Alexander for the year, which I thought he was coming back, and then they reported he was getting surgery, so he's out for the year. And then Jordan Love hurt his elbow today, so is he fine for next week? I hope so. But they're the 7th seed, and they'll now face the Eagles next week, which once again, if Jordan Love plays next week, that's going to be a great matchup. I love Eagles-Packers. That should be a great game. I think coming out of the AFC, I like Buffalo. I think they finally get past the Chiefs this year. I could be wrong, but I just feel like it's the year. And I think in the NFC, I'm going to take Detroit. I don't love the Lions. I think their fans are kind of annoying, because I don't know why. I just think they are. I'm probably down the wrong rabbit hole on Twitter, but I just see the worst type of Lions fans. But I'll predict Bills-Lions Super Bowl, and I think I'll have the Bills winning Super Bowl whatever year it is. Is it 59? I think it's 59 this year, 58, 59. So that's what I'll go with. Once again, thanks for hanging around this season, guys. I know it was tough, but hopefully next year with Shedeur at the helm, things are better, I hope. But we'll see what happens. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys next time.